This is coming from Bleeding Cool. Several DC Comics creators realize they are out of work. How the heck could that happen? How could they say, hey, I write comics, I draw comics, maybe I'm not writing comics and drawing comics. Well, if you work for DC Comics, it's very likely you're not going to be working on comics in the future. This is coming from Bleeding Cool. Bleeding Cool understands that this month, a number of DC Comics writers and artists realize that their upcoming work for DC Comics may not be quite as upcoming as they thought. Which is to say, the stuff you thought you were doing for DC Comics, you're actually not doing for DC Comics. So stop working on that. They discovered this in some cases by reading the DC Comics solicitations for March 2021. Because those solicitations are future release announcements that DC Comics as a publisher puts out every month. They're usually 3 to 4 months in advance, depending on the timing. And it lets you know, we're putting out this title with these creators. But that's for the public. That's not an internal document. That's not something that they share with management and with employees and with freelancers. That's something that they put out publicly that everyone gets to see who follows comics, like as a customer or a retailer. The reduction in the number of titles, as well as contracts being previously signed with creators who were meant to be working on the 5G line, that was a whole other story, which they are not doing, have meant that a number of creators without such contracts have been jettisoned from their titles. So if you don't have those contracts signed and in place, and you are working for DC, no, you're not. Oh, by the way, if you want to subscribe to the channel, it's a huge help. Subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications. Back to the article. And with the editorial numbers being decimated over the last year, meaning firing editors, managers, production people, because DC has been laying everyone off, it seems that whoever was meant to inform such creators of the change in upcoming work may not have told everyone. This is the kind of thing like when you have a company and you have employees for a long time and you have operations for a long time, there are certain people that tend to do things. There are strict job descriptions, but then there are a lot of things that at the company that certain people just kind of do. Because it's maybe not within their formal job description, but it kind of falls in their area, and then your department kind of handles it. DC has cut out tremendous numbers of employees. So their departments are decimated. They are devoid of human beings working there any longer. So as a result, whoever it would be that would do that, maybe someone in editorial, maybe somebody in accounting, maybe somebody in editorial, telling somebody in accounting, hey, you know what, make sure everybody who we have contracts out with or who we have understandings with that don't yet have contracts but we're given assignments as of a certain day, just go through all the assignments, make sure everybody knows, hey, don't work on all this stuff, or hey, this stuff is not upcoming, which is, it's something that you absolutely, as a publisher or a business person, need to do. If there are people that think that they're working on stuff and they're arranging their schedules and they're expecting the money and the work and they're putting time into it, you must let them know if for some reason you can't continue as a publisher producing those titles for whatever reason, if the decision is made. So otherwise people are wasting their time. And the worst thing to do to creative people is to waste their time. So back to the article, cue a number of phone calls, email threads, and even an occasional What's Up shout out with longtime DC creators looking for work, with a flurry of editors at Marvel, Dark Horse, IDW, Boom, Dynamite, and the like receiving a, quote, hey, I'm suddenly available message. And you do see those. Expect to see a few creators who are all but known for their work at DC Comics popping up in solicitations in months to come. It also doesn't help that while DC Comics has created more anthology titles and titles with backup strips, the number of titles and the total page count of work being created has dropped dramatically. The anthology titles for production purposes makes it a lot easier to produce the book. So an anthology title would be a title where you've got more than one group of creators working on the single title, doing smaller incomplete stories. So if they were doing a 24-page comic, they might have 8 pages from one guy, 8 pages from another, 8 pages from another. It actually is much easier managing production that way as a publisher, But of course, it's not the same damn thing as getting a whole completed comic. In March this year, DC Comics solicited 62 new items, totaling 2,632 pages. Though the amount of artwork generated is less, this includes advertising and editorial pages, costing $281, made up of 49 $3.99 comics and 9 $4.99 titles. In December, DC Comics was soliciting 52 new items, totaling 2,352 pages, costing $286. In March, they've gone down to soliciting 39 items, and other publishers have also seen reductions. DC's have dropped by over a third in the year, and the $4.99 price point has jumped. Those creators have had to find other things to do. A friend of mine texted me last night, who I've known a long time, a comics guy, and he's like, "Hey, so does this mean DC Comics is going out of business? Does this mean there aren't going to be comics anymore?" Yet there are always going to be print paper comics. When I say always, I'm going into the next 100 years. Okay? We don't know past 100 years. But yeah, they're going to be print comics. There's comics like my project, The Mermaids. There's projects like all sorts of COMICSGATE projects. There are independent publishers producing their own comics. There are more comics now probably than there ever were before. But comics as a business doesn't exist anymore. Not as a major publisher, where when I say a business, I'm saying where they would go and they'd set up an office and they would publish the comics to hopefully make a publishing profit. They weren't doing it just for intellectual properties or doing it just for the purposes of getting movies and TV made. You know, comics as a returnable magazine business or returnable business doesn't exist anymore. The non-returnable business, it really doesn't exist anymore. Not in any major way. And so DC's not doing that. Marvel's not doing that. And DC is in the business right now of completely cutting its line and reorganizing itself so it can be useful as a streaming service contributor. So it's a streaming service department to create some creative. They're going to make movies based on DC characters. There are going to be toys based on DC characters. But really, it's a small division of a streaming service. And that's how it's being judged. It is useful. They've got great legacy characters. Hopefully they do a great job of them. But they really are severely cutting their line. This is an article from Cosmic Book News from Matt McGloin. Love the website. DC Comics cuts the line to 34 titles in March. You know, Ethan Van Sciver has been warning people. I was on one of his streams. I think we were on a year ago. And we were like, and Ethan was like, "Listen, I'm telling you, do not depend on DC Comics. If you're a creator, start your own thing. Find other things to do." And he also warned people to go ahead and get whatever work is outstanding done. Send it in. Get your vouchers in so you can get paid. You know, just get paid for everything outstanding because they're going to cut stuff. And they will. You know, DC Comics is not going to not pay for work that was completed, that was contracted, that you have assignments for. They're not going to go there. They're not doing that. They don't need to do that. They're not concerned about that. But they're not going to have, even if you're someone who's worked on a key character for 8 years, 10 years, 15 years for DC Comics, that does not mean they're going to have work for you tomorrow. They're not. So Ethan was saying that, and I was agreeing and backing him up on stream, saying, yeah, you know, get the vouchers in, because they will honor any vouchers. They're not going to not pay for work that they contracted. But if it's not contracted, forget it. Forget it, because they don't even know what they're going to be publishing. So you can't depend on them. They can't make promises right now because, again, you know, what is DC Comics supposed to look like if its entire reason for existing is that it's a little division of a streaming service trying to help Warner Media and HBO Max, which HBO Max should be renamed to HBO Plus. I always say that. But what should that company look like? How many periodicals a month should it do? How many new titles should it do? How many LGBTQ titles should they be publishing? Should all of it just be that? You know, that's the kind of questions they're asking themselves right now. They have no idea what they want to do with DC Comics as a comic book company, only that they wanted to lose as little money as possible, and they wanted to serve the streaming service, HBO Max. So it's you have to consider DC Comics as really something of the past. DC as a property will continue, but in what form you can't say, because even they don't know. But there will always be alternatives. And speaking of alternatives, you can check out my work at epicmermaids.com. This is my newest project, The Mermaids. It's still in demand on Indiegogo. We're completing it now. We're doing the layout and the design of the world building. There's a lot of really cool stuff that's going to be extras that are added into the book. It's a 48-page full-color ongoing series, and this is just the first book that we're releasing. It's scheduled to ship April 2021. The Mermaids is one mermaid's journey from simple teacher to unbeatable warrior. Jana thought she had nothing left to live for until she discovered a new purpose: revenge. So it is a great looking book. These are two of the covers. The interiors are full color. They're completely done. And it's a really great story. It's a whole fantasy world that it took me a few years to develop with an amazing creative team. And we have a making of book that shows you how we got the job done. So check it out, epicmermaids.com. All right, I will see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.